Recorded live at Wordcamp 2016, it is podcasting and videocasting using Wordpress. Good morning. Not a bad looking room. Kind of early, I understand. So, two things I do. One, I talk really darn fast. And then when you tell me I'm going too fast, I usually talk faster. Just a habit, so prepare yourselves. Just early warning. I've done this a few times. I've updated the slides a little bit. Who am I and why should I be up here? I really shouldn't, right? There's probably tons of people in here with just as much experience want to see new stuff. I run 6 shows, run my own studio, broke 1 million views on YouTube finally. So we're going to talk about difference between podcasting and YouTube. Yeah, woohoo! When I saw that, no, yeah. But tell me, when I was at 900-something thousand, I was refreshing every day. 3 times a day I was refreshing. I was looking at, come on, when the subscriber count was at 75 years ago when I started, doing this, and now it's, thousands, you get all excited. Means nothing, right? It really means nothing. It's not about how many people you have, it's about the content you're giving them. So this session is going to cover everything from best practices to equipment to some tips and tricks I've learned along the way, everything in between. Ask questions as we go. Don't wait till the end, all right? If you have a question, just ask. It's no big deal. Slides are always available, and it's recorded. So it'll be on WordPress TV, and it'll be available on my blogs. It's always everywhere. All the slides are here. The last 3 or 4 shots probably won't be, only because they're really ugly, and I did them this morning just for your viewing pleasure. I did. Well, last time someone asked me directly, they said, what does your studio look like? A disaster. But what equipment do you have, and what are you using this week? Because it changes. It changes all the time, and we'll talk about why. So everything we talk about is a component to making a good production. All right. So it's a combination of not only equipment, but best practices to how you present yourself. I did another one that's online. The slides are out there called branding using video and stuff like that. But we talk about some of the bigger best practices about yourself and being a speaker and interview and presentation. There's another room that's going to be doing interviews in a little bit. I know she's, I think, after lunch or something like that. So there's going to be another one later on, some podcast stuff. Maybe after this one, actually. Oh, there you go, 2 o'clock. So everything we talk about is a piece of the puzzle. Without it, likely something isn't going to work right, or you're going to drive a listener away. And that's one of the things don't get upset about. I've made listeners mad. I get hate stuff on YouTube all the time. Here's the best part. Any comment on YouTube or thumbs down counts just as much as a thumbs up or a like. Did you know that? That means they interacted with the video. So them saying it sucked, thank you for watching. Did you click thumbs down and make a comment? Thank you twice. I appreciate it because that just helps you. It really does. That's interaction. YouTube weights things differently than what you think. All right. Now referring to things is a different thing when they do recommendations. So here's numbers for you really quick. This is new slides for you. 32 million people, right, listen to podcasts. It's about 115,000 podcasts, they say. That doesn't include YouTube channels. This is just podcasts. So how do you compete? Make yourself unique. You make yourself different. You make yourself a niche. You be yourself. That's the big difference. If you try to model after someone else, it won't work. So what did I do to prepare for all this? I started like a lot of you, or some of you that haven't started yet, did it on a whim. I said, let me just start doing this. After that, I actually went to another studio to watch Big Producer. I happen to know Leo. So Leo Laporte and I have been there 2 or 3 times, and I've watched the studio. I've been behind the scenes. I have a picture of behind the scenes of production. And you're like, wow, that's just a lot too much. So what I did is I took a weekend with Callie Lewis and her team and John down at Livid Lobster and spent a weekend in Dallas with them and learned more than I've ever learned in my career in 2 days, right? It was a paid course, actually. They only did it once. There was like 6 of us. But I invested in making sure that I could do the shows properly. Has it turned into revenue generation? Yes. Do I do it for that? No. Because some of the shows make nothing, right? They don't do anything. They're just for me. I don't care if you listen, you listen. So what are the averages? This is a key thing I want you to keep in mind. How many of you have a show now? 1 guy. I think I know who you are. How many of you want to have a show? Great. Is it going to be you talking, maybe interviewing, covering some stuff? Going to be any video? No one, everyone's like, why would I want to be on camera? It's part of the fun, man. It's part of the enjoyment of being on camera. So let me give you some averages, and this will help you prepare yourself for your show. First things, this is what listeners prefer. They prefer a 16-minute show. This is a big survey they did about 1.5 years ago. They prefer 16 minutes. So what's the next big battle? Well, they'll listen to you for about 22 minutes. So they prefer 16, but they'll go as far as 22. But here's one of the problems. Listeners, commute 25 minutes. Starting to make sense, isn't it? They're on the road 25 minutes. A lot of you listen to podcasts when you do things. Cut the grass, drive to work, ride the train, whatever it is. Well, St. Louis, Metrolink, right? If you're from here, you ride the train, not a train, you ride the train, right, to get around. So listeners will commute about 25 minutes. That makes sense with the 22 minutes, right? Get in the car, get out of the car, you're turning stuff off. Well, the average show length, unfortunately, is 30 minutes. But there's a tip, and I tell all my listeners to do it, and I started doing it myself. So we'll take this week in tech, right? How long is his show every week? Everybody know? Leo's show, 60 at least. He's an hour-long show. An hour. That's just, hard to do, but you do it. Maybe you listen both directions when you're going to work. Well, I started doing this about 2.5 years ago. I tell all my secret. Oop, now I'm gonna have to go back through. I clicked twice accidentally. Come on. Listen on. I did this for all show and then I screwed it up. There you go. 2 times speed. Podcasts. The first time you listen to your thing, it's gonna sound like a mouse. It doesn't. It just really shrinks down the time. So that means what we just talked about, right? They want 16 minutes, but the average is 30. Well, if I listen at 2x speed, it's in their window of time that's 15 minutes. I tell my listeners, listen at 2x. It's amazing. After about the first 1 or 2 episodes of any show, you go, I couldn't listen any other way. Why? Because I listen on regular speed and I go, oh my gosh, can you talk faster? Why are you talking so slow? And you sit there, you're like, I can't deal with this. Oh, hell, I'm on 1x, hit 2x, and back to regular speed. Now you've taken that 30-minute show and made it 15 minutes. Now, do I recommend everyone will do that? No. So think about a show length that fits in that 20-minute window. Yeah? Can you see who's listening to at what speed? No, you cannot see who's listening at what speed. No. You're really not going to be able to see who's listening at all. You're just going to see the number of downloads you get. And that's one of the things we'll talk about is, numbers and metrics, but you're not going to see who unless they're clicking a link that you've provided them, and that link is trackable. So like if you have a newsletter and you have a clickable link, you could see it then. I was just saying, now, I tell them though, I talk fast enough, put it on 2x, blow your mind away, right? Because I want you to listen to the whole show. I really do. So talk about video for a second. It brings attention to you. So what you can do is not only do the audio version, but a video version as well, and let them subscribe to either one. It's the beauty of the whole thing. Don't be afraid of the camera. So who knows St. Louis, Danielle Little, the cubicle chick? Some of you know who Danielle is? So she's the cubicle chick. Danielle came to my studio the first few episodes. I produced her shows for her. I sat across from her. I was her, not her interrogator, but antagonist during the shows. We had a lot of fun. But she was afraid of the video. She didn't want to do video. Now, Danielle does all video. It took her about 6 or 7 shows to realize I have this whole audience that I'm missing out on that also want to see video. Maybe they just want audio. So we'll talk about different formats. But video is a way to get into more people's vision. YouTube, right? Searching topics, trends. When you go on there, where do you go to? Google and YouTube. That's where you look for stuff. My faucet at home, I was replacing a faucet. Looked under the sink. I've never seen this thing before in my life. Never seen the way they hooked it up. I took it to Home Depot and the guy goes, I have no idea what that is and I used to be a plumber. Looked it up on YouTube. 2 videos down there was the answer I needed. YouTube. So the solutions are there. But let's talk about this big problem. Bandwidth. If you're getting into podcasting, this will be your enemy. You want to make bandwidth your best friend. You really do. Worst thing you could possibly do is put your host somewhere that restricts your bandwidth, and you all of a sudden have a huge show that blows up. No one can get to it. Why? Because you've exceeded some bandwidth limit. So you need to investigate a host that allows unlimited bandwidth. The costs are usually not that big at all. They're usually really cheap, but you need to look at the host. Some will say unlimited up to X gig. Unlimited speed. They do. It's like your phone, right? You guys have seen that? Have you guys read the fine print on like the T-Mobile thing that says now we'll let you stream all your YouTube and Netflix and all that for free? Did you read the fine print? You read the fine print. 20 gig in a year. So it's unlimited. It's not on your main plan, but you get 20 gig, right? So there's a limit, but there is hosts that will provide you for the cheap, unlimited hosting of the file storage. There's some catches and caveats. I can tell you what I use. GoDaddy, but I'm going to tell you the caveat. The caveat is the server it's on must have a web page. It can't just be a file host. So I have this static web page thing that's there, but then I host my files underneath it. And I'm going to tell you why I do it differently. My WordPress server is not that server. We're going to talk about that. but I host files on an unlimited bandwidth. If a show blows up, it can scale. If a show blows up and I get so many downloads, I put it on a different host for what reason? Bandwidth, and I don't kill my WordPress server. It's a key thing. We're going to talk about that in a second. So file storage, where do I put it? Well, the file size is going to be determined if we're doing audio or video, and I'm going to show you examples of that as well. All right. But you can store multiple versions of the same show. So I do that. We had, yes, and if you'll laugh if you say this, BlackBerry Today, right? We had a BlackBerry show. We've kind of let it die off the past year and a half. We broke 1 million in the first 4 episodes because there was no BlackBerry shows. But we also got put into the BlackBerry store on their devices when they first came out with the HD versions. I had an HD version and an SD version. I had HD for the playbooks and devices. I had an SD. It was the same show. I just twice ripped the encoding off of it. Real quick. Took me 20 minutes. No big deal. The point was I had it available for more of an audience. Right? I put the HD out there for the playbooks and the iPads, and I put the SD lower quality for the iPhones, or the people who just wanted to, grab it for their Androids or whatever. Cumulatively, we broke 1 million in 4 episodes. It was amazing. But if I wouldn't have had the unlimited bandwidth, I would have stuck myself. No one would be able to watch the show. Okay? So they're going to make a big difference in these. So never store your files on your WordPress server. Don't do that. What I said before stands true. If your file host goes down, or you get overburdened with people trying to download a show because you become popular, or something else happens, your site stays up. It also will burden heavily on a WordPress server if you have too many people hitting it once to download as view the web page. Think about it. It's a connection, right? It's basically like a web connection. In a way, they're not FTPing. They're actually given almost a web connection to get this file. So imagine you have 2 or 3 pages up that you want people to visit, and then you have a popular episode that comes out on Friday. By Sunday, you've downloaded 10,000 times. Let's say you're that lucky. You get 10,000 downloads. You probably get 20, but 10,000. All right? What could that do to your host? Could you handle 10,000 hits at once on most of your WordPress servers? Probably not. You guys probably couldn't. Your machines that you buy aren't scaled to that. If you self-host, or some of them, you're not scaled to that type of bandwidth. Okay? So that's why I say get a host for these files. And a lot of the hosts also give you terabytes and terabytes of space, more than a WordPress host does. That's another benefit to having one of these hosts like that. I think I pay $75. I always find coupons like $75 for the year, okay, for the bandwidth host. But I also have a static web page. Keep that in mind. You can't just put the files on there. They'll be upset. Questions on this part? Does that all make sense to everybody? Is anybody freaking out yet? No? You should be. Because this is where it gets to be fun, but also you have to start thinking about how am I going to do the show. So let's talk about you for a minute. How many of you think you want to start a show like now, today? Yeah? What's it going to be on? Okay. You ready? You got content ready to go? You know what you want to talk about? Is it just you? You going to interview people? Interview people. You got the mics already? You know how you're going to do it? You're going to use Skype? You're going to use people in person? It's not putting you down. So you guys keep in mind, everything we do in this is for fun. But it's asking the right questions, but I do it for fun. But you see really quickly how the picture gets bigger, but you can simplify. So if you could do it in person, could you do it today with what you have? The equipment that you have and everything you have. Do you have the setup, the files? Do you have the bandwidth? Do you have the WordPress site ready to go? You could probably make it happen today. You could whip out your phone and sit somebody down and do an audio recording right now. Would the quality be the best? No. But would it be an interview on the fly? Yes. Sometimes raw interviews are the best interviews. Wayne Sutton, right? I don't know, some of you know who he is, but Wayne Sutton's big out there in the social media world. Wayne and I got lucky on the fly at an event. We were at Blog World presenting, and big R&B guy, Jermaine Dupree, was there. And we got an in with somebody in his PR crew. They said, you can have 10 minutes, you just can't ask about Janet Jackson. Don't ask. This was a few years ago. We said, okay. We said, you ask whatever else you want. She's off limits. He'll walk if you ask about it. Like, we don't care. That's like TMZ stuff. We don't, we want to know about his program and his Twitter. We want to know about his stuff. And we sat down on the fly with a phone and recorded. One of the best interviews and downloads we had. We weren't prepared. We weren't ready, but we made it happen. So you can make stuff happen, all right? There's ways to do it. And we'll talk about some gear in a little bit. I'm trying to get you the idea of don't be afraid to always be ready, even if you don't have the equipment set aside. So here's file sizes. So I want you to look at the difference of HD and SD alone, right, compared to an audio file. 30 minutes is about 30 meg. It's about a meg a minute for your lovely MP3s. 4.5 minutes is about 50 meg for HD quality. So now start thinking about file storage and bandwidth and downloads. Now multiply this times your show length. So we're at 150 meg, right? Here, we're still below 30 meg for that show of listeners want, right? Listeners want a show of that's 20-minute range, 30. So okay, 30 meg for an MP3. I'm up to 150 meg for HD. Wow, this is going to grow pretty fast. Now I want to be able to let people subscribe to audio and video. Well, now it's 150 plus the 30. Now it's 180. Well, I want to throw an SD for the people that are just on their iPhones. Well, some of the new ones, they'll want the HD, but you can get upwards of a few hundred meg per show storage facility, just in storage for the files. Okay? Now, one thing I don't really cover in here that we should talk about and should mention is the computer you're going to use to actually do the work, let's say, right? To do all the encoding and do the stuff like that. You can do audio, MP3, pretty much any laptop you want. Heck, even some of the phones now can do it great. They have little programs that'll do it, right? You can do it on those. If you're going to do heavy-duty video, prepare to either wait a long time or invest some money. You invest money to make that wait shorter. That's the way it works. It's that total inverse, right? It took me a few years, but I finally bought a big Mac Pro tower. Not a Mac Pro, the laptop, but an actual tower, right? But the idea was I wanted a 12-core, 32 gig of RAM, multi-terabyte behemoth to process video. When I say process video, you click and you go, get a drink, oh, you're done. That's what I want it to do, right? For little shows, it just, shoo, it's done. We'll talk about softwares and stuff if we want for video, but it goes fast. For audio, it's ridiculous. But I've also done it on a Windows laptop, an older one, right? If I'm doing other work, I'll put it on this old Windows machine. It doesn't matter what you use. Just remember, it's going to take more time for less hardware, and the bigger the video file, the more time it's going to take. That's part of your production time. So an hour to record, we'll talk about editing, and then however much time to encode what you've recorded and edited. A show takes an enormous amount of time. The shorter the show, the shorter your time. So another benefit to going short, right? So here's a bandwidth example. I wanted to show you this to scare you, because you should really understand we're talking gigs and gigs and gigs of traffic, right? 54,000 megabytes. Wow, that's a lot of damn bandwidth, right? Think about it. That's sucking a lot of bandwidth. If I had a host that was restricted, I'd be done. I'd be dead. My WordPress server would have died, first of all. And if they locked up my site because I'd gone over my bandwidth allocation, then you couldn't even get to my web page. Forget getting to the file, right? You couldn't get to the web page. Because remember, even if iTunes, that their subscribers are in iTunes, they're still pointing back to your sites to get the file. It's not stored in iTunes. It's not a magic cloud, right? They're still coming to you. iTunes is an aggregator. It's not a storage facility. Keep that in mind. YouTube is a storage facility, right? I don't know if they still have the limit, gosh, because it's been so long, but when you start a new account on YouTube, is it still like a 15-minute limit for a short while to make sure you're not scammers and spammers? Yeah. All right, so you have a 15 minutes, so that keeps you in that window of what people want, right? But as you grow your show and grow your subscribers and grow, they make it pretty much unlimited. Do people watch my videos all the way through that are longer? No. Do I have videos that are longer than 20 minutes? Yes, I do. Depends on the topic and the product, and am I doing a product review? All sorts of things change it. Sometimes they're 8 minutes, sometimes they're 27, sometimes they're 15, all over the board. For me, it's about people watching it to get product information or reviews or social media tips, right? I don't really care so much about the length as do they find what they want. So this is your bandwidth utilization. I put this up only because I wanted you to see is, wow, I released a show, the show did really well, right? Released another show, it did okay. Took a break, released another show, died off quick. So the original subscribers got it, but didn't have a lot of draw. This show had a lot of draw. So I had a lucky show that had extra people listen to it based off normal subscribers. You can kind of see where the normal people are, right? This one did really well for some reason. Who knows why? Maybe I covered something that was new. I didn't dig that deep into it. It could have been I talked about a new software thing that came out in one of those shows. I didn't dig that deep. But you see what happens in that spike? That could kill your site, okay? So, feed management. We're jumping around a little bit, but I want you to understand some of the pieces.
Can I ask you a size?
Please.
So, is there any benefit to having the audio podcast and then directing people to your YouTube channel?
In it?
So you're not carrying the weight of the video and the encoding.
You can do that.
Least favorite word is rendering.
Yeah.
When I say rendering, she knows.
You can do that. You can't. You can't, one thing, and I talk about that here, YouTube won't let you build an RSS feed off of their site. They don't let people subscribe to grab those videos, but you can definitely tell people, hey, go see the video of this on YouTube. Oh yeah, sure. Will a lot of people do it? You have to put the link into the feed that they get, meaning the text of the feed, because a lot of people aren't going to type and look it up. They got to be able to click, right? It's all click. People are all about, you guys have heard that from the web design stuff, right? Simple click, simple follow, simple call to action, all that other crap, right, that we talk about all the time. Same thing I follow, right? If I have a newsletter, simple call to action or simple follow. So yes, you can direct them there. My content is a lot of times segregated, meaning my shows on video are just video and my shows on audio are just audio. Only because I have a core followers that are based on that. Then I have a show in the middle that I kind of do both, if that makes sense. We have one show on social media that a lot of people just listen to. They don't need to see anything. It's me and about 5 or 6, I get different guests. We do a show and it's all audio based. We keep it under 30, listen on 2x, it's a good show. Product reviews, they're all video based because people want to see you do stuff with the products, right? So I don't have an audio feed for that. That'd be stupid. Look at what look at how it works. It's audio, right? Then I have a show in the middle that we talk about and show stuff and I make it interactive. So you kind of have to feel what your audience needs, right? If you're doing a design show on development, you better show stuff, right? You better darn well show stuff. If you're interviewing guests, you can do audio only. Video is a big seller though. A lot of people like to see it. They just really do, okay? They can't do that on 2x though. It's only for audio. So create a feed for each format you produce. So we just talked about formats, SD, HD, MP3, whatever. WordPress has the capability for you to generate a feed. You just give it a tag and just make that your feed. So tag it as MP3, tag it as, it's a category basically. Tag it as HD, tag it as SD. I do that for the BlackBerry show. We actually just had tags and I built a feed off of each tag. Real easy to do in WordPress. It's built in. You don't have to do anything extra. Then you submit that feed to wherever you're going. To iTunes, to the Windows stuff. You don't submit it to Zune anymore. I mean, you can, but it really doesn't get you any listeners anymore, right? That was a big deal for a while, the Zune, Portability is a key. So what you should use, it's my recommendation. Let me put it to you like this. Here's my recommendation, is that you use one of the feed services to help the subscribers drive from there, and then behind the scenes you can point it to any host you want. Why? If you ever find a better deal, or you ever move your host, or you leave the partner you're with or the company you're with, and you want to take your feed with you, all your subscribers stay at that main feed and they don't know the difference. You just move the back-end host. Portability is the key. So all of my feeds at iTunes and all the users hit this main feed burner, right? Behind the scenes, I can move the host around as I need to and just repoint where feed burner looks at. The benefit is I never lose subscribers, right? Think about that. If you change your name, you change the host, you could lose subscribers really easily. So portability is a key. You do that with a layer in between for the feed. So we talked about keeping subscribers. So I said this before, is YouTube won't allow you to generate feeds for users to subscribe to. What do? They subscribe in YouTube, right? So let's talk about numbers. I didn't make a slide on this because I wanted to talk to you about it. First time you ever get an episode out there and you get those first 10 hits, that's when you thank your friends and family because you know that's who listened, right? You know exactly who it was, don't you? You go, all right, appreciate the sister, the mom, everybody that subscribed and listened. Yeah, all the friends, you put it on Facebook, they all clicked it. You did a great job, you sound great, right? Except for the one friend who said, you sound like you did years ago, like trash. There's always that guy. We all have that friend. I have that friend. Then you break 100. You go, 100 people really want to listen to what I have to say, right? And you'll stay at that type of level for quite a while unless you really have a good niche. Don't get caught up in the number of listeners, get caught up in how they interact with you. If you're asking them to give you feedback via web form or send you an email or send you a tweet or whatever it is, and you're getting feedback, you're reaching listeners. If you're just driving numbers, what's it doing for you, right? If you're not getting any traffic from it or anything from it, think about this. A custom landing page or URL on your WordPress site that when I tell you in the show to go to that page to get something special or something extra or see the screenshots, right? Or do whatever I'm talking about in the audio show, and I see hits on that page, I'm reaching my listeners. If I just put the show out there, I never really know. Do they listen? Just because they download it to their iPod doesn't mean they actually listen to it, do they? They could download every episode and never hear the episode. So I want you to gauge interaction with your listeners based upon something that you have them do with you or for you. Does that make sense? And that's where a lot of it comes from. Otherwise, you'll drive yourself nuts worrying about a number. The number can mean nothing. It really can. I mean, when you get into metrics, so that's why most of them, and I'm going to talk about in a minute, but I'm going to jump ahead, is surveys. Listener surveys are pretty much required if you want to get into advertising. Listener surveys are done by all the big shows. Leo does it, Callie does it. What it does is then it gives you a platform to give to the advertisers to say, here's my listener survey, right? I got all these people that filled it out. That gives them qualification if they want to work with you to do advertising. All right, it's hard. You can join advertising ones where it's like click to get paid, meaning if you have an advertiser on your show where only if the user goes and buys from there or clicks or whatever it is, then you get it. But you also have advertisers that eventually reach out to you and say, we want to pay you directly to advertise slots on your shows. When you get that first call or email, oh yeah, your day brightens up, right? The goal of every one of my URLs and sites and shows is to pay for itself. That's my only goal. Meaning I'm not worried about the money behind it. I'm worried about to make sure it pays for the bandwidth, equipment that I need, domain registration, right, and the host. It's all I'm worried about. I have 42 domains I own and run. All I worry about is they all make money to pay for themselves. If they don't make money after the first year and a half, 2 years, I usually do a 2-year initial. If they're not making money, I lost 10 bucks. I don't renew the domain, it's gone, right? But that's what I do it for. The rest of it's for my enjoyment. And if you don't go into it for enjoyment, you're going to kill yourself. You're going to be worried so much about the show and the numbers that it's not going to be fun. And if it's not fun, the listeners won't care, right? I do stupid stuff in my shows, on my videos. If you go to the YouTube channel, you'll see at the intro, I've had vendors reach out to me like it's one of the goofiest things we've ever seen somebody do with our product. I did the Fitbit with the health tracker integration, I mean the food tracker integration they do, right, with the thing. At the beginning of it, I'm sitting there eating Oreos. I'm like, somebody put this on my calorie counter. And I got an email from the team at PR, and they're like, that was perfect. Because we know people sit there and eat Oreos all day, and they don't put it into their counter. I'm like, I do. I eat Oreos, and I put it in there because I don't care, right? I just don't. I move around too much. I probably burned it off up here already. So plugin config we're going to talk about. So inside of WordPress, and I have to escape because apparently it doesn't like the other way. We'll make this bigger for you. Sorry, they actually shrunk it. Better? All right. So I use PodPress. There's a couple different plugins out there. The only reason I use it now is because I've been using it for so long and it just works for me. It gives you the ability to generate specific iTunes settings and feed settings as well as embedded player settings. Here's what I've done. I use PodPress for any video shows to generate all the feeds for people to subscribe to, but I do not use the player settings. Why don't I use the player settings? Anybody want to guess? I'm just grabbing water, y'all. Just grabbing water. Why don't I use the player settings? Anybody want to know? Sorry for the noise. No, if it's a video show, I'm going to put it on YouTube and embed the YouTube video. Because if you're coming to my site, now I'll let people subscribe to it, but I'm not going to use the embedded player from this. One, it'll come through the WordPress site, which is awesome that you remember that. But number two, I want people also to see that YouTube channel. So I embed the YouTube video. You can subscribe to the video and get the HD video, but I'm not going to use that embedded stupid player. I want the YouTube video there. Why? Now I'm driving traffic from YouTube as well. That's a great way, because there's a trick in YouTube, and that's called what? Site verification. You guys know what that is yet? When you get a YouTube channel, you can verify the URL of your site with YouTube, and then in your video you can live link to your site. So I can link you to the blog post. I can link you to a landing page. I can link you to anything in my URL. I can't send you to other places, but I can send you to my URL. So now I've got this cross between, you're on my site, you're seeing my YouTube video. You find me on YouTube, I have links that pop up in the video. They even work on the phones now. I'm sending you to my site. Right? They're called cards now, so they work on the phones and stuff. But you can actually send people back and forth between the actual content. It's a beautiful feature, and I didn't do any extra work. I encoded it for HD, stored it on my file server, so they could download the HD, right? Subscribe in HD. I upload the HD to YouTube, right? With the same information, but the link is in there as well. So now I've brought the two together, then I just embed the video. It takes me an extra 20 seconds of work. The video just uploads in the background, but to link the two, an extra 20 seconds. Does that make sense? You guys can bring everything together. Is it a first step? No. But is it something you should look at? Yes. Now, we're not going to dig in deep through this, but I want to get you the idea. Inside of this plugin, you can convert and set everything you need to do. iTunes categories, how do you want to see? Is it explicit? This one is a key thing. If you're doing an explicit show, I support you 1,000%. I'll probably listen, but make sure you tag it properly. If you tag the show wrong, if you're doing an explicit show and say no, YouTube will take you out. If you say yes, you'll limit your audience. Do you see the difference? If you say yes, you won't get as many subscribers, but you'll get people that really want to hear things that have content in it. You can get away with a word now and then. They're funny on this. You can get away with a word now and then. But if you consistently have shows that have cursing in it, and enough people make a comment about it or complain or mark the thing, they'll pull your show. And it takes an act of Congress to get it back or change it inside of iTunes. Why? Because they just don't have a guy named Steve that answers your phone call and support that can fix your show, right? Think about it. There's 115,000 podcasts. They all have problems, okay? Keep that in mind. What else can you do? The description, the feed URLs, right, of where it's going to be. This is the feed from my blog itself. And then I take this feed and I dump it up to a feed burner. Yes?
Sorry to back up.
No, please.
When you were talking about explicit, are you marking your entire podcast or just that specific episode as explicit?
This will mark your podcast. This is the plugin for your whole show. Now, episode is different. This is for your whole, this is the config for your entire show. Good question. Yeah, I'm just letting you know that I've seen people get banned, right? Because they made enough bad words and people reported them. You reach the wrong person, it's great. I mean, if the people are offended by it, I understand. Don't listen. But if enough people mark it bad and you didn't mark it as explicit, then you're stuck, okay? General feed settings, your images, how many posts you want them to see when you upload it, right? You must have valid email addresses, how many posts you want them to see. You can have a logo. The logo, remember, nowadays needs to be giant because of HD. They won't accept anything smaller, so make sure that you're getting good quality graphics from whoever does them. If you're the graphics person, congratulations. I'm not, right? I always hire somebody to do that stuff, but make sure. Now, one other thing I'm going to throw in there that isn't even in my slides because we have kind of time. I go long all the time, don't worry. And Chris will yell at me later. And I'll change back to my green shirt later on. The music that you use. Let's talk about it, shall we? Let's talk about the music that you select to use for your show, all right? Never use anything copyrighted. Just don't. If it's a song on the radio and you try to put it in YouTube, what's going to happen? Well, you got three choices. You're going to get lucky. That percentage is like win the lottery, and you won't get tagged or pulled. You'll get tagged where they'll remove your monetization and assign the monetization to somebody, to the actual like Google Play Music Store or something like that. They basically take your monetization off and make it because you have a song in there. Or the third one is somebody will complain that you have copyright material and they'll pull your whole video down. Now, can you fight to get stuff back? Yes. Let's say you're doing satire or you're doing recaps of news or whatever. Those you can get put back by claiming, it's open, non-copy, you're basically talking about news or whatever. But if you're playing music a lot, you're going to get pulled all the time. It's really, really tough. So the thing I recommend, you can even get this is royalty-free music. Use it at first. Or make your own. As soon as you're past the point where you have a little bit of change, and you only need a little bit of music, right? Think about it. People don't listen to, you're not on there playing music, 20, 30 seconds. I paid, and I own it, my music. I paid like $100 to a local producer, and I said, I want this type of music and beat. We worked for a few weeks, gave them the 120 something bucks. They were happy as can be. I now own it. It's licensed to me. Everything's mine. Everything is mine. You can never complain about it because I own the music, right? So it's actually mine. So I put in the shows. I've actually had a complaint before. I had the random company, you'll find them, and they're banes of the YouTube existence. They will put copyright claims on anything that's doing well. I've had copyright claims on shows where I'm doing product reviews. It's me standing there doing a review. How are you copyrighting anything in my show? Oh, well, you showed something. It doesn't matter. It's not your product. It's it's a product review show. So I've had claims on that type of stuff. It's crazy. I've had one on my music before. Well, that sounds like our song. It's not. It's nowhere close to your song. So I know that. So invest the time later. But up front, make sure you choose and read their fine print about royalty-free. Some will let you use it for a show as long as your show doesn't make any revenue. Because then they want royalties, right? Because you're making revenue because their song is included in it. Some will let you use it for non-commercial purposes, meaning you can't sell advertising on your show because that'd be commercial purposes, right? You're selling Not reselling their song, but they treat it as you're selling your content. So you have to play the game, all right? So maybe you don't have some music. Maybe it's you striking a keyboard because you're a musician. Whatever it is, be careful about that, all right? So we talked about that. You can get deep into feeds, copyrights, and then the last part is actually activating the feed itself. Now, what I do is I don't worry a lot about this back-end stuff because in my feed burner, I rewrite everything anyway. I write the copyright. I have all that stuff at that level is where I do everything. But this plugin just controls exactly the base level stuff, and it's built in. It's free, right? I should say built in. It's free, and you can load it up. All right. We'll come back to that if we need to. Frequency. So how often are you going to podcast? Since you were the only one that really answered. How often? And you're in the front. You're going to do once a week. You're guaranteeing once a week. Is your show called This Weekend? Yeah, I wouldn't guarantee once a week. You ever take a vacation? You ever go anywhere? Guest ever get sick? I'm just giving you ideas. Yeah, don't guarantee every week. You could say, we'll try to be multiple times a month, right? We'll try to be whatever. But once you say this weekend, go ask Leo. He's like, oh, you are guaranteeing to the audience a weekly show. 52 episodes a year. Man, I've got a whole month without an episode. I have, just because there wasn't the content, wasn't the topic. I took a vacation. I was at World Cup for 3 weeks. I wasn't doing shows from the World Cup, right? I was too busy having fun. I wasn't paying attention to that. I was in Brazil, for gosh sakes. I don't worry about a podcast show, right? Could I have queued stuff up in advance? Sure I could have. Did I? Heck no. I was going to Brazil. I didn't even think about it. I'm there 2 days before packing going, oh well, sight's down. It's part of the fun. So this is why I bring this up. Frequency of the show should be as often as you can generate good content, but don't let it get stale. Stale feeds, right, cause problems. People can lose interest and can lower your rankings a little bit. So don't get too stale. But if you guarantee a weekly show, be prepared to do a weekly show. All right? Because as soon as you miss 2 or 3 weeks for whatever reason, people are going to be like, I guess they're closed. I guess they're gone. They took 2 weeks off. Well, you're a weekly show, right? You didn't say you're going to be gone for a week. Something happened. Family emergency. You're gone. Tornado in St. Louis. Who knows? Just think about these things when you start doing the frequency. I never guarantee any frequency on my shows. During some of the big conferences I do for my One Tech show, we'll do a show a day. Recap shows, a show a day. Then I'm taking 3 weeks off because I'm tired of it, right? I want to do other stuff, and I've had enough. I've got enough for my listeners to catch up on, okay? So weigh your frequency in there, but don't get stale. Now, as for your schedule, I said match your name, but don't feel compelled. If you're not in the mood to do a show, and you're just doing it and you're not in the mood, the listeners will know. They'll hear it in your voice, they'll hear it in your excitement, all right? Like I said, if you're this weekend, you're weekly. But I do keep a loose schedule. When am I going to have a guest? When am I going to produce? How long has it been since I produced? I keep a loose schedule. The idea is then I know. Because if you have multiple shows, or even with one, you can lose track. Some of you are worried about how often do I blog post, right? I post blog, how often do I do this? Well, now I got to worry about a show. It all gets mixed up. So keep a loose schedule. I don't care if it's a planner on your desk, whatever it is. Old feeds, lose subscribers, they think you went away, right? Last one, I said earlier, run a listener survey. No matter how big you are, even if you only get 6 answers, at least 6 people listen, and you can get some demographics and information. Advertisers demand demographics. What's your average listener age? What's your average listener, zone? Is it just US based or you global? Or they want all that information from you. All right. So we talked a little bit about iTunes. Test your feed all the time and test it first before you submit it. Changes are tough. Once it's out there, it's out there. That's why I use that middle layer. I can always mess around with the host. I can mess around with the server serving the files, but that middle layer stays the same, and I know it works. If a feed breaks, my host is probably broken. All right. The feed's good. It's the host is broken. Artwork is on the fly. Use this to your advantage. You can have a show art, but each episode could have its own art. So if you're covering a topic, throw that as the artwork up for the show, right? If you have a special thing you're covering, throw that up as the artwork for the show. If I'm doing a product thing, I'll put that up as the artwork for the show, whatever it is. Because why? Everybody's on these now, right? And what do they get? Visual. Visual catches them more than anything. If they see all your shows with the same icon, unless they know your show, they're like, he's just talking about more stuff. Ooh, he's talking about that product today. Ooh, it's visual. So think about that when you're doing it. It makes it more fun. I do a custom, quick JPEG on every single YouTube show now I upload. I used to like pick one of they give you 3 choices and you pick one when you upload a video to YouTube. Nope. When I do my video edit, I find a good part, something funny, I'm doing something stupid, screenshot, and I make that my actual, video screen thumbnail for YouTube, whatever you want to call it. I love it. It's fun. You can have goofy stuff. Sometimes I'll do silly stuff on the side just to have a screenshot to do it. Because you look at the show, you're like, I sucked, right? To me, I was like, I had no enjoyment in that one at all. Like nothing fun happened or something stupid. I've had stuff, not work, blow up, fall over. I've had all sorts of crazy stuff. I had a 75-pound, 150-page shredder sent to me to test. What kind of fun can you have with that? Oh, you can have lots of fun with that. All right, we did. But at first you're like, how am I going to demo this? Oh, I know. Get the cat. And then, not to shred the cat, but because as soon as you turn it on, the cat just like scrambled. It was the greatest clip we ever had. Outtakes are fantastic. So custom images make the impression you want, but always use a good show description. That means telling them about the show, giving a link to somewhere to go, right? Using good keywords. Always use a good show description, but keep it readable. Think about what shows up on your phone now for a podcast. About that much, right? So you got about that much. About 4 lines or so. Make sure it fits. Make sure it has good keywords, searching. Make sure it has good information in it, the viewer. Make sure it has a link if you need them to go to one for clickable, right? So you cover all those things in one. Because your links, most of you have been to that class for WordPress or what? They have good keywords in your links, right? All that SEO stuff that you learn about, same thing applies. SEO applies to podcasts the same. Finding your show on YouTube or in the iTunes store is exactly the same. Let's talk about equipment our last few minutes. This is where it gets fun. My equipment changes every week. It honestly does. Why? Because I have fun with it. Now that URL, I just went to it today. Don't yell at me. I'm going to give you a new URL soon. The bit.ly bundles are gone. They went to tags, and I didn't know till last night. So I had a bundle built, and what the bundle was a list of every URL to every product I used in the studio, all in one list, and I kept updating it. I kept giving you guys the new stuff I was using. Well, just a short time ago, they took bundles away and made it by tags. So I need to create you a new one. So I'll get you a new URL. I'll put it in my blog post with the slides. Yeah, that doesn't work. You can go to my bit.ly page, but you can't. The bundle's not there. So let's talk about equipment. This is Leo. This was live. I took it. It's Leo Studio. Yeah, don't do this. Yeah. You could, if your show generates, 250,000 views a week just in one show. This Week in Tech does over 250,000 downloads a week. A week. That's one show. They've got, what, 14 shows or more now. 250,000 a week. Most of you would fall out of your chair if your thing said 250,000 downloads, right? That's ridiculous. But think about it. He's getting he's got huge sponsors like Ford. You're not going to get Ford on your thing unless you work for them or know somebody that works with them. But skimping on equipment doesn't mean you spend a lot, but it means finding the right quality equipment. All right? This is a little bit of overkill. The stuff I'm going to show you in the slides, I'm going to tell you how much everything costs. Why? Because it's not mine. I don't care, right? But I'll tell you where to find it too. So this is the current live environment as of last night. That's why these pictures look stupid, because I was like, they'll probably want to see what I use this week. I was in my studio taking pictures, and Chris saw me out there. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, change the slides. He goes, of course you are. Right? I'm like, yeah. So I have a Heil microphone on the left. That's the one I use now personally. I have a Behringer on the right. That's the one my guests use. And then I have a Behringer simple 4-channel mixer. Now here's the beauty. This mixer and this microphone, forget about the arms, mixer and microphone come together in a kit. Either USB or standard 3-pin, right? But it comes in a kit, about $150. So you get the mixer, 4-channel, and you get the mic, not the arm, but the actual stand. It would sit on the table. It's about $150. So now I've got a quality mic and a mixer to add more mics to for one investment and done. Some mics alone are $150. This is their C1. Great quality for audio speaking, all right? So affordable, ready to go. Comes in a box. They call it a podcast kit. It's beautiful, green box, all right? The Heil microphone on the left is, well, you guys probably know the name, right? Way more money, but the sound is just incredibly impressive. Don't let the sides fool you, because those mean nothing. This is one of the things, I had somebody talking into the side. The mic's down here, but they were talking to the side. They just have a grill there. So keep that in mind. just had to point that out to you. But this gives you flexibility to run multiple inputs, right? Balanced or unbalanced. You can run 1/4-inch inputs. You can run XLR inputs. You can do simple things. You can do phantom power. Phantom power is important for mics like this. They require phantom power. So remember that. Some of the microphones require that you actually power the mic a little bit. So all that stuff is built in together. Now the arms that I use, they're actually mounted to the desk. They're, I don't know, under 20 bucks each, all right? Cheap. But those arms are awesome. Let me swing around the mics, move them out of the way, do whatever you want to do. So, other stuff we use. Sometimes we use this Kodak ZI-8, and other times we use a big Canon like the ones in the rooms here. This one is my favorite portable one. Why? It is one of the few cameras that's portable and this small that has one key thing. Right here on this side, it has an external mic port. Most handheld cameras do not have an external mic port. Why is that important? Because when you're out in the field, I don't care what you're doing, you're going to want to get a lav mic. I don't care if it's wired or wireless. I use ones with wires, like 20-foot cables. They're cheap. They're like 15 bucks, right? But you want a lav mic like this. You don't want to use a microphone at a distance if you don't have to. You can if you buy a high quality, right, directional mic, but a lav mic puts it right to you. This thing is brilliant. Why is this so important? This is why. You're capturing the audio directly and it goes right into the camera. That one's an HD quality, 720p, that camera. They're cheap, right? But it's a ZI-8. Now, the Canons, as you know, you can spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on those. Just make sure it has an external mic port. Some of the cameras don't at the lower end. You go to Best Buy, you'll find those ones at about the 200, you go, ooh, look at that one. And you look at the specs, you're like, there's no external mic. It uses the built-in mic. That won't do good, mainly if there's noise or you're at a distance. All right, so keep that in mind. I got a better picture of the green screen stuff in a minute. The picture on the right kind of shows the back. It's kind of dark up there. But basically, I have two monitors on arms. The arms, I'll be honest with you, were sent to me for review. It was nice of them for product review, so I got free arms. The monitors I got at, like a Micro Center or online or whatever, found a deal for those. So that's no big deal. No, these monitors right here. There's two monitors. See, I told you it's dark up here. These are, sorry, no. This monitor here and this monitor here, there's arms. There's two arms that go. Here's the arm post. It's dark up here. I'm sorry, down here it looks great. But if I turn down the lights, it'd probably look better. These arm posts, those are totally rotating. Why do I have it like this? Here's a good point. This one right here, this one, I can turn around and it faces the green screen. So I have one monitor, I just swivel it and I can now have text or information or pages or scrolling stuff or things I want to read on that just by swinging the monitor around. Because why? Is because this is on the other side of it. So this green screen and three lights, these are the two you can see, and there's one on the floor, a third one that's down here. This green screen, the two lights, this kit, a couple $100. It's a full kit. Huge. Is it portable? No. It's not a portable one because that thing goes across the floor. If you wanted to, it's huge. That thing is huge. And I actually took a bar out. It goes, I forget, over 6 feet across, maybe 8. But that thing's under $200. So I've got links for all this stuff. And I'm giving you an idea of cost. Do you have to do a green screen like that? No, you don't. Is it great and fun? Yes, because it adds a lot more fun to your videos. Because you can put not only the product behind you, you can put pictures of stuff, you can put web pages behind you. You can actually then put like a huge studio thing behind you, which is what I do in my videos, is to put a studio behind it. You can fake it out. So last one I have so you guys can see is notice I have a green screen on my desk. Why? Because right here, that's a Solo 8 camera. That Solo 8 points straight down. So now I can do live demos on small objects that I'm doing presentation stuff on, right? Like, where's one? This one, I was going to talk about this anyway. Like this field mic for your phone. This is a HD quality field mic that plugs right into your phone. But I couldn't show that well standing at the studio, right? So I laid on the table under that HD camera, that Studio 8 right there on green screen, and do a full demo. So the camera points down. So think about simple things like that as you go along, right, that you can do. Why do I have this big box of stuff? No, I'm not giving it to you. It just arrived yesterday because to show you, I got to the point now in the shows that iRig, right, the company iRig said, hey, Chris, we've talked to you before, we've worked with you before, we like what you do. Hey, can we just send you a ton of stuff for you to demo and try out and then write product reviews on? That's where you guys want to be. You want to be at the point where whatever it is you talk about, whatever you do, you become known as an expert in your field, right? That generates people to come to your site for that reason alone. Okay? So, what other pieces do we have? Got a couple other pieces for you, and then we'll get you out of here. Questions, please, because we're running out of time. There should be a lot of questions. Please.
When you're producing the Cubicle Chicks stuff,
yep.
At what point do people come to you and say, you know what, I don't want to learn necessarily all this and spend thousands of dollars on all this thing?
That's what she did, yeah.
I want to just get it done, and how much would something like that cost?
You mean she wants to hire somebody?
Did she hire you?
Yeah, she hired me basically. So she just pays. So basically what I did is did all the recording and editing and then gave her the file. And then she just uploaded it to her WordPress and her file site and did her stuff, you know.
Does she already have like a good audience? Or?
She started with 0 audience. She had a great web presence. She has a fantastic web presence, like amazing web presence, but she never had a show. So she said, hey, I got a new show, and did it from there. Yeah, she did it that way. She had a web presence already. So you can not invest in any equipment and then go, and there's studios in St. Louis, there's a handful now, and just get some studio time, and sometimes they'll do production. Sometimes you can just record and you do your own edits. Piece it how you want. If you don't want to buy the equipment, you just need to find somewhere that has it. I think Bob Barker around here, they're building a studio out in Cherokee. You have a studio, right? Oh. I thought you were like, waving your hand. Yeah. Don't pay attention to time. Hold on. I'm located towards St. Charles. But there's studios that will let you use their studio and give you the files to edit yourself. There's studios that you record, they'll edit the file, and you go, right? It's just different ways you can do it. And it's all based on what you want to do. Or you start investing and learning on your own. You can buy a standard cheap mic or even the built-in to test. Get Audacity. Audacity is a free MP3 audio encoding. There's great courses for free on the web for Audacity. Get Audacity, export as MP3, and you're done. You've got a show. You could use the built-in mic in your computer at first just to test and get the feel for how to edit. You don't have to spend money. It's all free stuff. So technically, you could start with nothing. Right? iTunes is free. Microphone, your computer's free. Audacity's free. I say invest a little bit. I say invest a little bit to get some quality if you're going to be serious about it and start building it, because you don't want people listening and it sounds tinny or open. You just don't. Now, one thing I don't do on my audio shows, this is my choice, is I don't edit. Unless there's a bad word or I have a guest that says all the time and it drives me insane. I've come to the point where he knows in Audacity, I don't even need to hear the audio. I can see in the WAV files. It's like the Matrix. It's great. I could go, there's an because it has a certain shape in the WAV file that people just make naturally, and you can see the It just kind of goes and you're like, and if you knew they said it a lot, I can just go through and say, yep, yep, they did it again. And then by about the 40th one, you're like, why did I have them on? Because I hate that. So I get rid of those. Otherwise, I don't do cuts. I tell my guests, we just go. It's part of the fun of the show, right? If you mess up, guess what? You messed up. So I run behind you first, and I'll come to you. Yep.
Speaking of sound, when you configure your studio, do you need to do anything special for sound? Do you soundproof it?
It's an enclosed, so it is enclosed. It's totally walled and doored. It's a normal insulated room in the house, but did I soundproof extra? No. Have I seen people do anything from egg cartons up through the waffling through just the panels? Yes. If you have a high echo, like there's a wood floor. The area I record in, I did put rug stuff down just to get rid of that echo, but otherwise I didn't go past that. So, and then yours, I'm going in order, yep.
What about, say anything about live interaction? Like we're going to record the show Thursday at 2.
Yep.
Right, pitch it on Twitter or call in.
Yeah, I've done that before as well.
Give any advice on that or software?
Be prepared to have times where there's not a lot of people there, so have content to back it up. Meaning you don't get a lot of people watching the live stream on a Google Hangout or on YouTube or the Facebook live video now. Be prepared that you have enough content that if you're looking for interaction, you can still do your show. Cool? The back.
2 quick questions. Number 1.
As you want. Got 2 minutes.
To meet someone,
2 minutes, yeah.
but you have your laptop or what have you, can you use like a digital recorder or something to record the conversation and then load it into this?
So I've got an H3. I brought up the list. So this is the list of stuff I have that I was talking about. I got to get you guys to see. I have an H3 digital recorder that has the mics on the top. Or use your phone and get something like an HD rig mic. It doesn't matter from who, right? Just an idea that plug right into your phone now, and you've got an HD quality mic. There's like 3 or 4 makers of good ones of those that aren't that expensive. But if you want just ones you can lay on a table at all times, I've got an H3, a Zoom. It was made by Zoom. Just lay it on the table. Make sure though with those that you point it kind of towards the person that's speaking as you're talking, because you will hear distance. That makes sense? If you put it in the middle, you'll hear distance, but if you kind of just give it a little lean, it sounds like they're right there. Keep in mind, if you take it through security, they think it's a taser. Twice now they thought I had a taser in my bag. I'm like, it's a microphone. They're like, and they pull it like, oh, it's a mic. I'm like, I told you it was a microphone. You had another one. Go ahead.
The last thing was
Yeah.
the music part you talked about. So the person that you hired
Yep.
for your music, did you just, hey, here's a song I like, I kind of want something like that. Is that how you do it?
I told them I wanted something kind of upbeat and jazzy-ish with, I told them what I wanted and said, kind of like this, but I didn't want them to use it.
If you don't mind,
We'll talk afterwards. I'll give you some. I know a couple local, there's some people around that can help you with that. Some peoples. But yeah, there's a lot of local producers, stuff that make music. Last question. We have 1 more minute. Anything else? I want a picture of my room. Where's my room? I always like a picture of my students. Everybody smile. No one smiled. Okay, y'all smile. All right. Anything, if you need me otherwise, come and see me afterwards. I'll be around all day today. I'm changing shirts though, but I'll be around all day. Thanks, guys.